morning, everyone. Welcome to Citizens Bulletin. We're so glad to have you with us. Kim Kennedy here, welcoming you to the program. Citizens Bulletin is brought to you by Americans for Prosperity, who want you to know your role as an informed Pennsylvania citizen. Our program today is brought to you by Emily Green, and Emily serves with Americans for Prosperity as Community Engagement Director. Emily, good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Doing great, Emily. Always enjoy chatting with you, and we welcome you. Asking that before we dive into our topics of the day, would you please share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and your role with Americans for Prosperity, and update us on the work of AFP here in Pennsylvania?
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on. My name is Emily Green. I'm Community Engagement Director for Southwestern PA. So as far north as, Butler County, as far south as Greene County, all the way out to, Harrisburg. So it's a lot of driving, but it's such rewarding work. So what we do at Americans for Prosperity is we work to break down barriers so that every person can live whatever their version of the American dream looks like. So I find a lot of, I get a lot of passion through the work that we do. But if it's all right with you, I would love to chat about some of the work we are doing with Americans for Prosperity's sister organization, Americans for Prosperity Foundation, Pennsylvania. So at AFPF, Americans for Prosperity Foundation, for over 20 years, AFPF has been educating and training citizens to be advocates for freedom, creating real change at the local, state, and federal levels. So in communities across the country, foundation programs share knowledge and tools that encourage participants to apply the principles of a free and open society in their daily lives, knowing that this leads to the greatest prosperity and well-being for all. So for those of you listening, if you've been tuning in to, the work that AFP and AFPF does, this very much aligns well with our greater community's vision, which is to break barriers that stand in the way of people realizing their potential. So this moves our society towards one of mutual benefit, where people succeed by helping others improve their lives. So we're committed to equipping citizens with tools and knowledge to live a more prosperous life, which is a very large goal, right? So what does this look like? Well, we have two huge projects coming up in 2020 that I'm so excited to talk with you about. Both are in the greater Southwestern PA region. And the first that I'd like to talk about is AFPF Pennsylvania's first ever English as a Second Language workshop. So where did this idea come from? I have a great activist in Somerset, and his name is Miguel. So Miguel came to the United States from Venezuela, where, as we all know, the principles of a free and open society are not necessarily accessible to constituents. So he lives in Somerset and has a network of Hispanic farmers and entrepreneurs, small business owners, who have a limited knowledge of the English language. So in order to thrive in their careers and businesses, a working knowledge of the English language will allow them to get a leg up in their careers and, like we talked about before, live their version of the American dream. So we had our first ever ESL workshop orientation, where we had over 20 people at a local restaurant in Somerset called Reyes Teca. Such great Mexican food. It was absolutely delicious. And we were able to talk about what the expectations were for this ESL workshop. So we talked about, what practical linguistic skills are they looking to learn? So we'll be covering verb conjugations, everyday nouns, stuff like that. But what I'm really excited about too, and I know Miguel is very excited about this as well, we're also going to be incorporating a component of financial literacy. So how to achieve financial literacy and translate those skills to English. So essentially what we're looking to do with the first ever ESL workshop is to ensure that there's an underlying theme of freedom and prosperity. Of course, as we discuss at AFPF time and time again, free people are capable of extraordinary things. So that's what we're looking to do in Somerset. And I just absolutely know that this is going to be a success and we're going to create so much good. And if this is successful, we want to bring this, to every corner pocket of the state. We want to meet communities where they're at and bring those skills so that they can, learn more about how to achieve their own prosperity. And so second of all, I'm working on a Clean Slate and Pardons workshop. And this is in partnership with a Second Chance, Inc., and they are located both in the Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh region. So our Clean Slate and Pardons workshop will be located at a Second Chance in the Pittsburgh office and take place on January 16th, 2020. The workshop we're hoping will last from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you're unfamiliar with a Second Chance, Inc., it's a fantastic resource, and they're so great. So they're a licensed foster care agency designed to meet the unique needs of kinship care families by providing an array of holistic, values-based services catering specifically to kinship families. So they are looking to ensure the success of children by pairing them with next of kin, if possible. So this idea came to us. We wanted to create a Clean Slate and Pardons workshop because we see such a need in the city of Pittsburgh. There's so many people with untapped potential who are unable to find gainful employment because of their records. So with this program, we will be discussing the pardons and expungement processes. So just to distinguish between the two, I was reading up on this a while ago, and I read this compared to the term forgive and forget. So with pardons, this constitutes forgiveness, but there's still a record. And with expungement, it's as though the record just doesn't exist. And what we're looking to do there is distinguish between the two, talk about what the process for pardons and what the process for expungement looks like, while also discussing the details of Pennsylvania's 2018 Clean Slate law. So that was a big issue that Americans for Prosperity was working on in 2018. So with Americans,
they really sound like, Emily, just real quick, I just wanted to say, they sound like they're very relevant and helpful in our communities here in Pennsylvania. Absolutely, we try. What else do you have going on?
So I just wanted to finish up talking about the Clean Slate and Pardons workshop, if that's all right with you.
Sure, go right ahead.
So during the Clean Slate and Pardons workshop, we're also going to be discussing the Clean Slate law. So in addition, we're working on setting up a date for Clean Slate and Pardons workshop attendees to meet with a local law clinic to put these ideas and these principles into action. And then we're hoping that this will come about a week after the programming. We chose Clean Slate Workshop as the name, obviously as a testament to Clean Slate law, but also because of the fact that it'll take place in January. January is so symbolic of a new start and a fresh start. So we wanted to reflect that all individuals are capable of change and capable of incredible things. And for that reason, they deserve that kind of fresh start. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about the panelists. So we were able to secure Secretary of Pardons, Brandon Flood. And if you're unfamiliar with his story, it's absolutely fantastic. So he did have a juvenile criminal record and was eventually pardoned by Wolf's administration. But he also has a decade of government work and advocacy for much needed criminal justice reform policy. And, prior to his appointment as secretary, he has a decade-long list of government roles that he held. But we just believe that his insight into the pardons and expungement process will be invaluable to the Pittsburgh community. We're also bringing in John Kufos, who's the National Director of Reentry Initiatives at Right on Crime and the Executive Director of Safe Streets and Second Chances. And what is so cool about John's story is that he was recognized by President Trump for his work with criminal justice reform. And I know that he was able to really see the effects of President Trump's First Step Act. So we're really excited to hear from John. And then our last panelist is Dr. Joseph Green, who's within the Pittsburgh community, and he's helping formerly incarcerated individuals reintegrate into society by providing practical work and job skills. So definitely a much needed effort there.
Sounds wonderful. Really great initiatives. When you talk of these things, what kind of involvement can our listeners have? How can they be a part of these projects?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, we want to reach as many people as we can for the Clean Slate and Pardons workshop. We are hosting it in Pittsburgh, of course, but we want to make sure that we're getting the largest amount of people as we can so we can affect the most people. I know we're planning on bringing in some people from Philadelphia. We're planning on bringing in some people from Erie. So I would love to provide my contact information. If you're affected, if you have a record or someone you love has a record they're just looking to hear what their options are, whether it be through pardons or expungement. And it's just such an overwhelming process. Where do you start? We would absolutely love for you to attend. And you can RSVP or request more info by emailing me at egreen@afphq.org. So egreen@afphq.org.
Emily, I wanted to talk more in depth about the English as a Second Subject project. Can you go into more details about that?
Sure, absolutely. So this will be a 6-week program. So we will be hosting it once a week on Wednesday evenings in Somerset. And we're going to be starting off with, talking about the nuances with verb conjugations. And obviously English is a very difficult language to take on. So we want to ensure that we're teaching these farmers, these business owners, the English language so that they can thrive. They can thrive in their careers. But that is a 6-week program. It's 2 hours per session, and we'd like to bring this to wherever there's a need.
Do you find that you're getting a good response? Is there a need for this in the communities?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was surprised to see how much of a need there was in Somerset. I guess I just never realized that until, Miguel showed me how many farmers and how many small business owners live in the region. And, they are struggling because they just don't have that level of knowledge of the English language. So, this is just really exciting for me personally to take on, just because it's so different from any work I've ever done, but there's just such a need for it that, I'm sure there are so many other communities in Pennsylvania that we could bring this kind of programming to.
And people are listening to this and thinking, that's a great idea, but I don't have the qualifications to be a helper in such a program. And I would say, well, first of all, let's hear what it takes to participate in this.
So just to participate, all you need is a desire to learn. So at our English as a Second Language workshop orientation, we did an entry-level test where we were able to gauge the abilities of the attendees, and most had a decent starting level, which is really exciting, and hopefully that we can see a gradual increase over the 6 sessions. But all you need to do is just have a desire to learn, and we can bring all the tools and all the resources to your community.
What kind of person are you looking to recruit to teach these folks?
So, we were very fortunate with Miguel. He's fluent in Spanish and he has a great knowledge of the English language. And, he's been an activist with us for a little over a year now. So we're just looking for candidates who are fluent in Spanish, are able to speak and teach English. And we're happy to compensate and thank you for your time. But yeah, we can really bring this anywhere.
With the time that we have remaining, I am curious because I don't know much about Americans for Prosperity Foundation, and I'm guessing our listeners don't either. What purpose do they serve? What do they do in Pennsylvania in particular?
Sure. So as an employee of Americans for Prosperity Foundation in Pennsylvania, we are a C3 organization, and it's very heavily focused on education. So we want to bring as many resources and as much knowledge as we can to communities. So, for example, from a criminal justice reform perspective, we can bring information on laws that have been enacted and, the pardons and expungement process to ensure that everyone's equipped with that knowledge. So, yes, it is a C3 organization.
Are you looking for people to be active in other projects that the foundation has going on?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm really speaking to the 2 projects that I'm working on, but I would be so happy to have, if you're interested in learning more about AFPF or if you have an idea that you think would fit under the umbrella of the work that we're doing to bring freedom-oriented principles to communities across the state, please reach out to me and we can brainstorm on how to best bring that information to your community.
Okay, great. What other information do our listeners need to be updated about concerning legislation?
Yeah, so we can switch over to Americans for Prosperity's priorities. So as an AFP employee, we are working on a number of bills that we expect to be brought to a vote very shortly. One would be our probation reform bill, and that is House Bill 1555. So if you are interested in learning more about that bill or engaging your legislator, I would be so happy to, provide you with that information. Yes, so just shoot me an email or you can give me a call at 412-552-0271. Okay,
and tell us a little bit of background about that bill. What is it?
Sure. So it would, comprehensive probation reform. So the primary purpose of this bill is to ensure that we're keeping our streets safer, we're using taxpayer dollars appropriately, and we're ensuring that people who are on probation have second chances. So right now, Pennsylvania spends about $45,000 per inmate per year, which I was astounded to hear, considering that's about the average and in some places higher than most individuals' incomes in Pennsylvania. So obviously, this is a very costly system that we have in Pennsylvania. And we want to ensure that our return on investment is, keeping our streets safer. And currently right now, we're incarcerating individuals can be incarcerated for simply violating the terms of their probation, and that can be as simple as a simple misdemeanor. So forgetting to check in with your probation officer. So we would, under the current system, we could essentially put people back into costly prisons for simply not checking in for curfew. So, on Americans for Prosperity, we believe that this just isn't an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars. This is money that could go into roads. This is money that could go into schools. But essentially, it's holding people back who were formerly incarcerated by, not setting them up for success. So we're hoping to see a lot of movement on this bill, which is really exciting. And I would be happy to explain more, or if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Very good.
Really going into the experience of our panelists, it's such an honor to be bringing Secretary Brandon Flood into Pittsburgh, because he himself has had a record that has been pardoned. And to see him as the Secretary of Pardons, it's just a great story about second chances and redemption. So I'm really excited for him to join us on January 16th. And then John Kufos, like I said, he has just been, praised by the president for his work. And it's just really exciting to see so many diverse ideologies and backgrounds coming together to work on this. So through our programming on January 16th, we want to ensure that we're equipping the Pittsburgh community with the knowledge that they need to utilize the pardons and expungement processes. So reentry is so difficult, and, with a record, it's oftentimes difficult to find gainful employment. So I recently read a study that said that 1 in 3 adults across the country have a criminal record. And of course, employment is a critical component in efforts to reduce recidivism. Right. So if people have gainful employment, if they're able to get back to work, they're less likely to reoffend. So, and it's said time and time again that formerly incarcerated individuals, they want to work. They want to find work. And, it's my belief that we must do everything in our power to ensure that we give them opportunities to find that gainful employment. So through 2018's Clean Slate Law, or automatic expungement of nonviolent criminal records, after 10 years of no further conviction, That was a huge step in the right direction. But of course, with the Clean Slate Law, we want to, through our workshop, we want to ensure that people know what the situation has to look like for them to have automatic expungement. So there has to be no fines or fees. There has to be 10 years of no further convictions. And we want to be able to spell that out for everyone to ensure that they have that information and they're able to share that with other members of their community who may be in a similar situation. So we're hoping that with this programming, we'll successfully equip individuals with knowledge that they need to move forward with their lives and be able to live their version of the American dream. And that really has been the common thread in the two events that we're working on. You know, each individual's American dream looks a little bit different, but they should have the abilities and the resources to pursue that. So again, that's January 16th at a Second Chance Inc. from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And they are located at 8350 Frankstown Avenue, Pittsburgh 15221. And the English as a Second Language workshop begins in January that is January 8th, and that is at the Somerset Alliance Church in Somerset, PA. And if you'd like more information on joining us, if you are in the region and you would like to attend, you can feel free to reach me at egreen@afphq.org or 412-552-0271.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing all this really great information. And it's very encouraging to me personally to know that there are organizations like Americans for Prosperity who are looking to work for the better of the community and all kinds of people, whatever their station in life is. There are lots of opportunities, listeners, for you to be involved to the degree that your schedule allows you. But many people doing a little bit makes a huge difference. Just want to remind you that if you want to get updates from Americans for Prosperity, if you want that to arrive in your email box, you can have that happen. Emily, how do people sign up to get that email newsletter from AFP?
Sure. So you can email me at the information mentioned before, or you can email info.pa@afphq.org. And we would be so happy to get you plugged in and set up and have you join our team.
Very, very good. Emily, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share these updates with us. Very much appreciated. Listeners, thank you for joining us. Make it an excellent day.